Find this ideal. The three of us here today, I said practical is okay. Yes, 5 of us.
Oh, I know. I thought it was counting 3 and then 1, and then I realized, oh, I didn't hear.
Existentially, you're not here.
Right. Oh, fall.
Fall. That's great.
Fall in Florida. Enjoy, guys.
Thanks.
Good morning.
Just talking earlier, the whole day, and I'm like, yeah, he's not. But conversely, and it's like a, 30 degrees, wind chill, it's kind of, nah, it's decent.
We have been changing all these since birth.
It will, yeah.
Okay. So when you're sitting here, you're not and when you're holding your service rope or something like that. So when it's the other way, so when you go down to the right eye, you'll switch it around. That's why we don't do all the way. I heard the entire pilot was without power. Thanks again to everyone for coming every week. You know, I know I can count on you guys to be here, and it's wonderful. As the more of our Sangha, we have a lot of members who are always cycling in. That's also perfectly fine. It's nice to see you guys every Sunday. This week, the things that have come to me that I have been sort of thinking about in relationship to practice is how does living in plenty relate with our practice? So recently, I personally gotten to experience the joy of the home, having a family. These are things that I hadn't experienced before, and in the grand scheme of being a minister, it's something that I think a lot of times we're not within the purview of ministers to have families and to own things. We were referred to as home leaders. And one of the things that I've had to kind of come to grips with is how the Lotus Sutra changes the paradigm of what it means to be a minister. And in a sense, we are all lay ministers, myself included, because we live in society. We live in the muck and mire of everyday life. We do not live the original version of the Sangha in the sense that we do not renunciate everything and live as mendicants only by the robe and the gold. And this has been difficult for me to kind of wrap my brain around. I've recently been listening to the aspects of the Thakra teachings of early Buddhist teachings of Buddha that he gave to his disciples by listening to a series of autobiographies discussing each of the disciples, both Shoeizan, Shoeizan, men and women disciples, monks and nuns. And trying to kind of reconcile the admonitions and the lessons within that to the modern context of where I'm at as a member, ostensibly, of the same Sangha that the Buddha established, but thousands of years later. And I am not following the original 200 precepts set down by the Buddha, which were never set down at once. It's basically things happened, and the Buddha had to come up with a quick rule to keep everybody in line. So this has been difficult, and so I return continually to the parable of the Magic City in chapter 7 of the Lotus Sutra, which discusses the idea that the monastic life is the halfway point, the pursuit of individual nirvana. Liberation for oneself is the halfway point. It's the mirage in the desert that we move towards as our destination. And when we arrive, the Buddha tells us that no. What you're striving for is not the destination of nirvana, but the destination of bodhisattva, the eternal Buddha, the Lotus Sutra. And so, as such, the paradigm shifts from viewing oneself as the literal home leader, and it transforms itself into the metaphorical home leader. In my opinion, in that the admonition of the Buddha and the teachings of Buddhism towards relinquishing attachment isn't necessarily to say that we cannot have love and attachment to things, but it's the understanding that these things are transitory. They have a time. They only last for a time. I think of the story of Sunyata, who was a woman that was said to be very tall and gangly and not that pretty, but she was a really good character. And the king, one of the kings came, and he saw through her looks to her character and made her his wife. Now, this was to the consternation of all of the rich, members of court, because she was no one. She was of no caste. So she has a child with the king, and she feels that this child is her reason for being there. And all of a sudden, everybody's nice to her because she has this child. And she devotes herself completely and totally to her child. And unfortunately, Sunyata's child, it's an illness, and it passes away. And Sunyata is afraid that this means that the family will not love and respect her anymore because she did not provide a child. She no longer has a child, that maybe her bad karma is the reason that the child passed away. And so she suffers a mental breakdown, and she cannot wrap her brain around the idea that her child isn't just sick, that he has passed away. So she keeps carrying him everywhere, asking everyone to help her with a cure for her child's sickness. One Brahmin sees that she is mentally deranged, and so he realizes that the only one who might be able to help her is the Buddha, so he sends her to the Buddha. And everyone's been incredibly rude to her at this point and told her that she's crazy and she's carrying her dead child. She's like, no, he's still alive. Like, he's just sick. So she goes to the Buddha and she asks the Buddha, can you give him a medicine? And he says, yes, I can give him a medicine. But you need to procure the medicine yourself. She says, what is it? He says, it's a mustard seed. But it's a mustard seed that you must get from a household that has never known death. And if you find that mustard seed, I can make the medicine that you need. So soon after, goes about from one house to another asking, or she asks, do you have mustard seed? They say, oh, I'll show you mustard seeds. We have a variety of different mustard seeds. What kind? She says, well, I need a mustard seed for medicine. Oh, and by the way, have you ever known death in this household? That everyone, they had all suffered death at some point. Some recently, some far long ago. But all had known death. And in the process of this, she realized that no household is free from death. And understands this is the message that the Buddha was trying to teach her. And so she buries her child and then goes to see the Buddha. The Buddha asks her, did she find a mustard seed? She says, no, but I found much greater medicine. And so this is the understanding. It's not that we shouldn't love and we shouldn't have attachment to our children, to our families, to these things, but it's understanding that everything is transitory and that in our hearts we have to remain home leaders to understand that all of this is transitory. We came into this world with nothing. And it is not the things that define us. It's not the things that we have, that we wear. We have to, with Buddhism, with this practice, find within ourselves that source of contentment that is not dependent on that which is outside of ourselves. It doesn't mean that we can't love and appreciate every single thing that comes into our realm. But we have to look at them as wonderful additions that are transitory in nature. That I will appreciate this apple as I have it, but if the apple is not there, I will not be less for not having this apple. And it is a very harsh thing to think about in terms of people. You know, how could I, someone who's on the verge of being a father, have this same equanimity at the death of a child? That it's hard for me to wrap my brain around, and I believe that is why now I am being led back to the basic teachings and tenets of Buddhism, is that no one outside of yourself will provide you what you need. You are the source of your own salvation. You are a light unto yourself. Your family is the same. And though you may practice loving kindness with every human being, in the end, you are the person that has to actualize loving kindness for yourself. And the only way you can do that is by actualizing loving kindness for other beings. Because then we start to see that other beings are not different than ourselves. That my child is no different than another child. Doesn't mean that I can't cherish that child, but I should also realize that that other child is just as cherishable as my own. Think about this in terms of our jobs as teachers and social workers and lawyers and people working in the community. There's always someone out there in need of love and loving kindness. And I think that the way that we get past attachment to things is actually to love things more. And love them as they are. In Zen Buddhism, at times they would always talk about, the teacup. The teacup is already broken before you drink out of it. And although this has become kind of a trite thing at this point, and we practice a different style of Buddhism, it's a very seminal point that every moment, every person we meet is precious. And we should realize that in every moment, they are already on the path to the transition to another thing. They're already dead. So appreciate them now. Appreciate that flower for its flowerness in the time that a flower lives, and not weep when the flower is gone, because you understand that the flower lived its time as a flower. Human beings are the same. And so every moment is precious, because every moment is fleeting. Ichigo, ichie, as they say in Chavo. Chance, this experience now we have together is a very fleeting experience. Its memory only lasts as long as your memory of it lasts. And so, because of this, this is what makes the teaching of the Buddha so amazing, is that this is a teaching that has been passed on by word of mouth continually for almost 3,000 years. This turning of the wheel of the Dharma. And what is it? It's the path and the compassion that we have towards each other to find a way to find contentment in the now, to cope with things as they change and die and evolve, and to pass on that knowledge to the next generation. And support each other in the process of our evolution, of our growth, of our change, without wishing it to be something that it is not. We're wishing for more than what we have. This notion of karma is something that has been really coming to me. Why can a person be born beautiful or ugly, or with money or without money, or tall or short? What are all these things? And the Buddha had a myriad of things to discuss about karma and all of these things. And what I've realized is that it's a fluid thing. Some people need basic morality. And they need to believe and know that their actions today have consequences, or their actions in the past may have consequences. They need to have an answer to why things are the way they are, even if it isn't necessarily 100% certain that it's true. Why was I born poor? Why was I born ugly? Whatever. And just to say your karma is difficult to wrap your brain around, but in Buddhism, a tool that we use is to say that whatever you have in this life is the karmic result of a previous existence, and so on and so forth. And that this existence is not a punishment, but is to teach you what you needed to learn. And you're also reaping the benefits of a previous life. In Buddhism, the idea to teach morality is that if you are rich, the reason you are rich is because in your previous life you were generous. And the reason you are poor is that in your previous life you were rich and you were not generous. And so, is that true? I don't know. Does it matter? No. But what it teaches is generosity. Right? That's what's important. So, you could say that because you were, another one that I heard in the reading was, you were beautiful because in the previous life you practiced loving kindness to other people and praised other people for their virtue. You were ugly because in the previous life you didn't practice loving kindness and didn't praise people for their virtue. Either way, you should practice loving kindness and praise people for their virtue. And I don't know that necessarily any of this is true as far as looking backwards into incarnation and reincarnation and karma, but I know that the direction is still the same. Practice loving kindness, be generous, be kind, don't be vain. And so daily practice is what we come back to. How do we actualize that? This Tristan and I were discussing the ego and the id and the superego. The id is the instinctual aspect of yourself. The superego is the moralizing aspect of yourself. And then the ego is that which is in between the two. And so that's what we're using our practice to kind of learn to deal with. And there's a lot of sutras, and there's a lot of theories, and there's a lot of meditations that we could do, but the thing that makes this practice unique is that Nichiren Shon gave us a very simple practice as the gateway, and the primary practice, which is chanting Namu. And I use it all the time now. Because I realize that my purpose is not just to change Namu to go to get something for myself. But when I chant it, it's for other beings. It's that their karma was that they must have done something to be able to hear it. And if they have negative karma, then it's my responsibility to make sure that they hear it, so that they can stop their negative trend. So I've even started doing it for flies. You know, there was a fly in my little side room, and I started chanting the Namu putting the carol. Because I thought, oh, here's my way to plant the seed for that fly. The fly will benefit from this chanting the Namu putting the carol. The seed has been planted. And so when I feel frustrated and I'm like, what do I do to change the world? What do I do to change myself? What do I do to change my society, my students? Change the Namu putting the carol. It's simple. It focuses me. At the very least, it focuses me on the idea that all beings are equal, worthy of love, compassion, and generosity. They're all capable of reaching their highest potential, the same as me. And I am very happy that, even though I'm not a very smart man, that I, as not a smart man, can use to help actualize everything that the Buddha was saying. I don't quite understand all of it, but I can actualize it by just chanting. And it gradually changes my character to be a better person, more benefit. And we have this mandala it's not meant to be a magical thing that magically makes everything perfect in your life. It is a window or a gateway to the seminal moment and the teaching of all the people there when the Buddha preached between chapter 15 and chapter 21. And I look at it as a window, as a gateway. Practice, because it is out of time and place. We go there, personally. We're there. We're part of the community and the congregation sitting around the Buddha, or floating in the air around the Buddha. And probably around the other many treasures Buddha. We're receiving the teaching from the Buddha that directly, of the Lotus Sutra directly from the Buddha. And we are making our vow by saying, Namu Myo Horin De Gyo, I take refuge in the Lotus Sutra of the Wonderful Law. We enter into that seminal moment, and we are vowing to the Buddha right there. As we spring up from underground, we are literally becoming the Bodhisattva from underground of chapter 15 through chapter 21. And vowing, we're here to spread the sutra. We're here to spread the Dharma. We're here to save all sentient beings through all the different times, past, present, and future. And then by doing this, we simultaneously expiate not only our own karma, but of our time. And because in karmic theory, one of the theories is that, like in physics, there is no past, present, or future. It all exists simultaneously, that as we expiate our karma in this life, we expiate our karma in all previous existences for all of time. Not just ours, but all those people that we come into contact with. And so our purpose is to basically come back lifetime after lifetime to spread the Dharma, to help people, constantly springing back up to reaffirm our vow. The Bodhisattva from under the earth are considered the vanguard of the eternal Buddha, preaching the Dharma throughout time, limitless, innumerable all. And so for me, that feels like it's really exciting that when I get to sit in front of the mandala, I think about the fact that I'm there too. Whether it's symbolic or figurative, I'm there too. Affirming to the Buddha that I'm going to look out for the people. And I'm going to keep the teaching and pass it on to the next generation. For the benefit of all mankind, to understand that everything's transitory, everything's changing. But everything is beautiful as it is. This is the pure land, even in its ugliness. Right. Place your hands in Gusher or in Wokai Joni. How's it going? We begin with Joshinyo, silent meditation. Prepare ourselves for things we will not do. Today we dedicate our service to the memory of Nishin Shonen, the progenitor of our specific line in Kyushu in Saga. In memory of Nishin Shonen, who converted our temple from Shingon Shu into Nichiren Shu by debating the then head priest over 550 years ago. So today we remember him for his persecutions in the Nichiren Shu date, as well as for his inspiration to missionary spirit to create what we have now, which is still the result of his karma, putting up with all those. So please open your service booklets. Page 5. You have Juju. Please use them. 3 tassels on your left, 2 tassels on your right. Do it for invocation, and then you will switch them. Keep your eye on me. Invocation. Honor be to the great mandala, the perfect circle of all honorable ones revealed by our founder Nichiren Shonen. Honor be to the eternal Buddha Shakyamuni, our original teacher, the Lord of the Dharma, our great benefactor who attained enlightenment to the lotus past. Honor be to the Sutra of the Lotus Flower of the wonderful Dharma, the teaching of equality, the great wisdom, the one vehicle. Honor be to our founder, the great Bodhisattva Nichiren Shonen, dispatched by our original Buddha. Honor be to Renge Ajari Nichiji Shonen, the first overseas missionary. Honor be to the protective deities of the Dharma. We honor all of you. May you come to this consecrated place out of your compassion towards us. See us with the light of your wisdom and accept our offering of chanting the sutra and Namu Renge Kyo. Page 9. Verses for opening the sutra. The most profound and wonderful teaching is presented in this sutra. This sutra is difficult to meet even once in thousands and millions of aeons. Now we have been able to see, hear, receive, and keep this sutra. May we understand the most excellent teaching of the Tathagata. The most excellent teaching of the great vehicle is very difficult for us to understand. We shall be able to approach enlightenment when we see, hear, or touch this sutra. Expounding is the Buddha's wisdom. Expounded is the Buddha's truth. The letters composing this sutra are the Buddha's manifestation. Just as perfume is caught by something put nearby, so shall we be richly benefited by this sutra, even when we are not aware of being so benefited, because infinite merits are accumulated in this sutra. We can expiate our past transgressions, do good deeds, and attain Buddhahood by the merits of this sutra. It does not matter whether we are wise or not, or whether we believe the sutra or slander it. This sutra is the most wonderful and most excellent taught by the Buddhas of the past, present, and future. May we meet and receive it, birth after birth, world after world. Please turn to page 35. chapter 16 3 times today. In honor of Nishin Shonin. Nishin Shonin said that he felt that if you are going to chant for anyone's health or well-being, that you chant chapter 16, the Jigage portion, the shorter portion that we practice on a Sunday. You practice that at least 10 times in a row. So if you have someone who's ill, go to your home altar, say their name, chant do service and chant the Jigage section 10 times. It'll take you about an hour. And then dedicate the merit to that person. That is considered, according to our Nishin Shonin lineage, one of the highest prayer rituals that you can do for anyone for their health and well-being. He would do it 100 times for people. 大演芸教、往来十六、本来16、飛騨国従来、商業商工収流量約千万国際遊び、行政公共芸部収録収容領入を無料未来無料公収容公弁権で安易実不滅と共有し成功可能重し小心中力量連動修道水本に通見中堅や活動国領者現代連合二所活動新修上非新部式的入難一瞬欲見物不義作信用力が入手総空出量中戦や自動修道状態し不滅理法弁理法源流滅不滅両国修道仏教信用者多部を理修理説部上両党部本師官にが仏道が現象修道仏大王空海公部理変身両合小活動運動信念の内実理説法人中力行政を遊び公上大領流戦流上昇流昇流上健康信頼が上昇したし上安温宣伝上10万本文章をある集中法書本能流多経過修道書留学書戦略研究調査周期学不満ららけ三十九大修課書と空気二修検証新流通書空の行政実十万聖書在修上医薬語人間遊びの部門三の名称修六十は識識者公開見が身体しに説法ある日意識説物十分量無内見無者意説物難しがし力行政交渉無料中量無修法無修法小特量等記者応答し将棋高難療養人物語十部公料理全方面意義をしと実在に本し部
の説法も早く見せる空想原者日本武天道実在日本の数字条件が合理上司新法律学暴力が大悪道中が上司修行教の不良の使用書家の異性集中を毎日させ年にが上修行特業無業の即上中空心情連携上如来重要本来重力キラ特物来小教小公中無料百千万国大や装備乗船公共系無収億収上領入を仏道未来無料行為上修上方便言霊安理中活動上中心作法大上中央市小天中理上年度修上水門理中堅修堅が活動航空用在現代連合理想活動新修上基新福祉的入団理新独権物空自作新領自が入手早期出領入選択自動修上東西市空滅非方便流動源流滅空滅上修上空領新領者が無法移住自殺無法法領道不本市参議が滅動家伝承修上骨材を空海航空意見新領合小活動引導新変動内出理戦法研究理行政法和装備工場材料優先重要小中小中小健康人体化少々理化指導安頓天人上流安頓上上各種流法小本法流多経過重要小流楽小天着天流動作周期学不満なら天三仏中大中華浄土不利理主天上人流小流の行政主中満世小大修行医薬道因縁他装備の不問三法病小不修流論流和識理者教会見大心在心理作法悪知識修説仏中無料無来天文者理説仏断地が真理の聖結構小無料中の無修道無修道小国用道無知者も投資小義教乱用用人実行実空法上位全法天理事用し法実在日本地空の説法も大役理政空空小原者日本空天上実在日本熱理条件者公理上教師憲法律学法律家法悪道中華教師修養教道空教道中央小華道理性集中を毎日させ年にが上修養国教無教道国教中中心教連携教内重要問題重力気が国物来小教小公修無料百千
Unso, devotion. The wonderful truth expounded in the Lotus Sutra, whose Odai Mobi we now chant, is what the past Buddhas taught, the present Buddhas are teaching, and the future Buddhas shall teach. It is the great Dharma, true and pure, the propagation of which was transmitted primarily to Bodhisattva Jogyo by the Buddha and Mount Sacred Eagle. Once we chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, we shall attain the right view that the 3,000 worlds exist in our minds just as they are. The pure land of tranquil light shall be made manifest in our sight, and together with all other beings we shall enjoy living in the land of truth. May the sound of our chanting the Odai Mogu permeate the whole world, be offered to the three treasures, and be bestowed on all beings. May all beings enter the world of the one reality, the great vehicle. May the Buddha land be adorned and all beings favored with the merits of our chanting. Today we'll be doing country style drumming. Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, 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 Yo, Namu, Shoeizan, Page 68. I am a link in Lord Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I must keep my link bright and strong. I will try to be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that what I do now that ends my happiness and misery. May every link in Lord Buddha's golden chain of love become bright and strong. May we all attain. Page 71, I will read today's article. We do not hear the name of a loved one, just please see me after services and we'll make sure to add. We started our new autumn Bohemian sickness and distress and recording list. We respectfully dedicate all our merits now gathered to the great benevolent teacher Shakyamuni, the eternal Buddha. To the supreme teaching of Lotus Sutra, to the leader of the declining latter age of the Dharma, our founder, the great Bodhisattva Nichiren Shonin, and to the protective deities of the Dharma. May all beings under the heavens and within the four seas live in accordance with the wonderful Dharma. May the wonderful Dharma spread throughout the 10,000 years of the declining latter age of the Dharma. May we realize this world is the eternal Buddha's pure land. May peace permeate all the world and all beings enjoy peace and happiness. May all beings live in safety and live long without misfortune. May the peace and happiness last forever and all beings be prosperous. We pray that all beings awaken to the true nature of reality, which is the Buddha Dharma. May all beings of all realms be helped equally, overcome suffering, and gain the happiness of blissful liberation through the merits of following the teachings of the Lotus Sutra. We pray for the spirits of our ancestors and for all the spirits of the universe. Today we pray for those in sickness and distress. We pray for all the victims of terrorism throughout the world. All the victims of fires, winds, floods, and other natural disasters throughout the world. We pray for Frank Hardaway and Charles Bull, James Conklin, Janice Boudreau, Martin Hardaway, Louis Dingler, Roman Valentin, and for the people of Puerto Rico. In memoriam, we remember Amy and Maria Valentin, C.P. and Augustus Kroll, Albert Rivas, Elaine and Joe Winter, Harry Pinkwin, Bill Mears Sensei, Hart Sensei, Jack Parker, Kazuko Jordan, Errol Scott, Cheryl Cushman, Aunt Barbara, Wayne, Ronnie Yogetsu, Selden, Dennis Sullivan, members of the Show family, members of the Tybalt family, the Thibault family, members of the Krasnowski family, members of the Minuski family, Michael Maffei, and Glenda Williams. May we purify our minds, limit our desires, learn to be content, feel free to experience the quiet, unassuming joys of life, and learn to abandon all attachments formed in the mind. It is my personal wish to extend all of these merits to all of those members of our lineage who have come before us. As we chanted today, I imagined that as Nishin Shonin was sitting in the tiny box filled with nails all around him, or the burning pot on his head, that it was our chanting transferred through the mandala to him that gave him the courage necessary to continue on his mission without giving up his faith. With this prayer, we endeavor to increase our understanding and appreciation of what others have given and contributed to us, and to develop constant, mindful consideration of how our thoughts and actions will beneficially contribute to others. Amu Myoho Renge Kyo. 7778. Shujomu Hensei Gando
Sentient beings are innumerable. I vow to save them all.
Namu, Shoeizan.
Our defilements are inexhaustible. I vow to quench them all. The teachings of Buddhist teachings are immeasurable. I vow to know them all. The way of the Buddha is unexcelled. I vow to attain the path sublime.
With this body.
Until I attain Buddhahood, I shall uphold my faith in the Lotus Sutra. Namu Myo Renge Kyo. Namu Myo Renge Kyo. Namu Myo Renge Kyo.
Shoeizan Venerable ones, remembrance. Be where you like and come again out of your compassion towards us. Let your hands hold high, join cosmic Mahamudra. The interview began with silent meditation, this time Jin Shingo. Meditation on the sublimeness of Myo and the preciousness of you all very much for practicing today. And thank you very much for your efforts and your faith today. I really feel it. I hope that you'll inspire, continue your daily practice, that you see how important it is for us to practice and more importantly, share the practice with others and help them alleviate their suffering and see the beautiful gratitude of others.
This is the thing. It's normally praying, you have to bring them down.
No, you just so like if you're here, you have to bring the bell, you just.
Thank you.
I give you the benefit of that, so it says it is good. What are you doing? And then what they did, why did you teach it?
You didn't. I'd seen it before.
Me too.
Yeah,
I did the
okay.
exact same thing. I did the exact same thing. Whenever I was like, oh, I'll just do this and I'll just do this.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Tell you what, it'll be more comfortable too without doing that.
Yes, because then you just relax and get down. Thank you for your donation of all rice and cocktail and everything. Sorry I wasn't able to get your phone call at the time when you called me. It's like, awesome. Thank you so much.